Hello and welcome to Commodity Champions. I'm Manisha Gupta. Well, the concerns mount over that the wheat crop, as an Indian Meteorological Department says, that the northwest India and parts of Maharashtra, Goa and Gujarat are witnessing above normal temperatures. New Delhi has recorded the third hottest February since 1969, as the maximum temperature is 9 to 10 degrees Celsius notches above normal. It has set up a committee to monitor the impact of rising temperatures on the wheat crop. Meanwhile, the IMD also has issued an advisory to the farmers of Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan, warning of an impact on their rabi crops. It has advised mild irrigation and other practices to maintain the soil moisture. Well, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to weather and also the kind of price rise that we have seen in the international markets, whether it has been about the palm prices, which are trading at a 7-month highs, or various agriculture commodities which have seen price rises in the recent few days. Joining me now to take this discussion forward is Siraj Hussain. He's former Agri-Secchi and he joins us right live on the show. Mr. Hussain, thank you so much for joining us. Well, first of all, your sense on the kind of weather vagaries that we are dealing with. The IMD and the Agriculture Secretary also suggesting giving advisories, note of caution that we've seen happen in various other states as well.
Actually, the weather in North India and even in Delhi has been quite warm in the last 3 weeks, if not more. And the second advance estimate of the government came while the temperature was at least 5-6 degrees centigrade higher than normal. So it seems that the government, scientists were telling the government that there is nothing to worry. I have been talking to the retired officers of ICAR who have been involved in agricultural extension, agricultural research. And so far, they have been telling me that the night temperatures are quite low, not very high, and therefore there is not much concern. I talked to them a couple of days back. So this was the situation a couple of days back.
So, Mr. Hussain, as of now, I mean, as you said, the day temperatures were high, the night temperatures not so much. Are we looking at the wheat crop not getting impacted, at least until now?
Actually, it is not for me to comment on that because I am not an expert. So there is an Institute of Wheat and Barley Research which should be coming out with advisory, and they have come out with an advisory that if high temperature persists, then farmers should use light irrigation. So that is a good advisory. Fortunately, there has not been any winter rains this year.
Right. Oh, well, yes, that has been a concern as well, and IMD also talked about that. Is wheat the only one? Do you think the other horticulture crops or the other crops could also be looking at some concerns right now? Because it's not just about Punjab, Haryana. We've seen very high temperatures in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, where IMD put out an advisory suggesting that 40 degrees Celsius is what was recorded in Bhuj, and it is still looking at 37, 38 degrees of temperatures in various parts of Gujarat. Ditto Maharashtra, where we are nearly 3 to 8 degrees Celsius in various, cropping belts here as well. Too early days, because it has been too many days of the warm temperature. How would you look at all these numbers?
Actually, one good thing which happened this year was early sowing in most of North India. That would, I think, ensure that the crop is not too damaged. In fact, about 2 weeks back, there was concern that the crop of pulses and even mustard may be affected because of too much of low temperature in December. But I think the situation has changed now, and if weather like this, hot weather like this persists, then I think other rabi crops will also lose some of their productivity.
Mr. Hussain, we were talking to IMD as well, and while they refuse to give a forecast on El Nino right now, saying it's too early days and the first monsoon forecast would only come in by the month of April, but we have seen various other Indian and international private agencies already start talking about it. Would you be concerned at all, or do you think these are still early evolving days and we should perhaps wait a couple of months to start making a plan B on this?
See, IMD is always very conservative because the government would not like to send wrong signals to the market. However, various other companies like McDonnell Pelz and other companies which track satellite data, which use Australian, Japanese satellite information, etc., they have been writing and they have been telling us that there is a possibility of El Nino this year. So the minimum we can do is to prepare an alternative plan for seeds and other extension activities, etc., for crops which are somewhat resistant to low, low rainfall, which are attuned to lower rainfall.
Well, it has been a driest January in perhaps 5 months. The February has seen above normal temperatures. And as IMD says, Mr. Hussain, that we are looking at an early onset of summer because March officially brings in that. And you still have 3-4 months before you start seeing the first monsoons, perhaps June in Kerala, and then it takes all the time before it comes to North India. What would you watch out for next 3 or 4 months when it comes to weather in sense?
Actually, that is a rather bad news because more than anything else, the poorer sections of society are affected, those who are doing manual labor, those who are in the unorganized sector, the construction sector, because in these months, the construction activities pick up immediately after very cold weather in December and January. So imagine their plight if they have to work in 35, 40 degrees Celsius temperature. Many areas may face problem of drinking water. And, after Rabi, in many areas, the farmers take Zayed crop. So Zayed may also be affected, which may affect the availability of fodder. So there are any number of implications, but the country is well prepared. There is an ICAR institute in Hyderabad called CREDA, which prepares contingency plans. Plans are available for a large number of districts. See, the problem is that the trade moves much ahead of the government. So that is why this discrepancy comes.
I'll wind up this conversation with one final question. So moving on, when you look at the next few months with various concerns, weather being just one of them, what agriculture crops or commodities would you keep an eye on?
See, the largest Rabi crop is wheat. And we are rather low on stock. The government, as I have written earlier, will do everything to procure at least 24 to 25 million tons. This will be achieved only if the market prices come down to the level of MSP, which is 2,125. The government has already taken a number of steps. I can expect more steps. The other crop, which could be a matter of concern, is tur, because the production of tur is down, the prices are going up, and there is a possibility that the prices will cross 100, 120 rupees or so. So that is another area of concern.
All right. So wheat and tur clearly on our radar. Wheat, the government has been doing a lot. Tur also, we've seen some warnings coming in from the sector, and let's see really what really transpires as we go ahead from here. But thank you so much, Mr. Hussain, for joining us. And with that, it's time for a short break. But don't go anywhere. We take you to the Pulses Conclave 2023 to do a check of the agricultural commodity sector. Welcome back. You're watching Commodity Champions. Rohit Singh, the Consumer Affairs Secretary, spoke at the IPGA 2023 conference in Mumbai over the weekend. He emphasized that the government has a keen eye on pulses, especially the rising prices of tur. He warned that the industry not to game the system or hoard the imported tur, assuring that the government will facilitate and work with the good traders, but take action against traders hoarding purses for profiteering. He said that the government has information that traders are hoarding the imported pulses. Let's listen in.
While we facilitate the good ones, we have the tricks and the mechanisms and the legal measures to control the bad ones. I want to tell you here that I have reliable information that a lot of tur imported from Myanmar is being kept by people. So please do release it in the market. Please don't hold it. And otherwise we'll have to, it is a very, very reliable set of information that I have from the Intelligence Bureau in my pocket, which arrived this morning. And so please do not hoard. We want to help you. We want to make it a win-win proposition. You do good business. You make reasonable profits. Reasonable is the key word. We are with you. But if you try to game it then we are there to control. I mean, that is what we get paid for. That's my job. So please do not game the system. That's my friendly warning. We in the government of India are all there to help you to seamlessly import, but we'll help only the good ones. The bad ones, please watch out.
All right, as he said, it's a friendly warning and the traders should be making reasonable profits, as he said. Well, that's about pulses, and let's talk more about that, because the free trade agreements between countries and associations give a boost to the import and export of agriculture commodities. When it comes to agriculture space like pulses, what is the landscape looking like in Southeast Asia, UAE, India? I pose this question to Sudhakar Tomar, who's president of India Middle East Agro Trade Industry and Investment Forum. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Food is a socio-political, economic subject for any country, especially more so for India. And in a country where 7 out of 10 people are involved directly or indirectly in agriculture, so the output has to match the economic growth of a country. So in that, we have India Middle East Agri Alliance, which together with its cohort, Bharat Subcontinent Agri Foundation, South Asia Agri Forum, has become a multilateral trade platform, agri-trade platform for promoting bilateral or say across the border trade and investment. Together we represent close to 1,600 corporates and 50 million farmers from member nations. And our mandate is simple but ambitious, to create opportunities between UAE and India food security corridor. Find relevant agri-food farming tech startups who are doing meaningful work, and at the same time contribute to regional food security dialogue and make sure that affordable food is available at the right price to the needy populations at all points of time.
The other two buzzwords clearly have been value addition and supply chain. How is that being managed within India and outside too?
So it is a very interesting subject. I mean, we see that in India has done fantastic when it comes to exports. Last year we crossed $50 billion in exports. But at the same time, we have also imported close to $25 billion worth of merchandises. So I feel that there is a need to export more than the basic staples, where to shift to high value added primary agri exports, and for that the food processing bit or the value addition bit will come in the play through the handiwork of these three initiatives which both the countries have launched.
Within India as well, where there's been a lot of thrust with the agriculture prices, ensuring availability. We've seen so many measures come in because of that. And now you have festivities going forward. You also have elections coming into the next year. How tough is the government going to be on the trade, looking at and ensuring that the prices stay where they are?
So every government has this tough task of making sure that the farmers are remunerated, rightly so, for the produce, and at the same time also make affordable, nutritious food to all its citizens. So it's a tough balance between two, especially for a complex country of 1.4 billion people like us. So they have to be very watchful to make sure that the prices remain in check because of these situations, and also certain things which are not in the control, like weather, which we are seeing February is not progressing very well. But at the same time, I feel that alarm is not that much. I think we still have good 35 to 40 days to see how the weather progresses.
Finally, going forward now, while we, of course, are looking at El Nino as a concern, and the monsoon season is not too far away, and this is a season that India really depends a lot on for its agriculture, would you think that this is a time to perhaps start making Plan B right from now?
So a long-term futuristic policy for any product is good. So absolutely, of course, all the departments and all the entities, including private trade, they have to be watchful, see what is missing, and we should have a plan to absorb any shocks if they appear. So the weather has to be watched very carefully for next 3 to 4 weeks.
I'll wind down the conversation just with one more thing. How would you look at the overall agri-inflation number right now? Because while we have seen some of the commodity prices stay where they are, Some of them have declined quite sharply as well, but the international inflation is something that we also tend to import. How would you look at the overall food basket from here on? Are there any concerns according to you?
Overall, because of weather concerns, geopolitical issues of Ukraine and Russia, the situation is not all that good. I mean, we have seen in recent past the food import bill of the world climbing to almost $2 trillion, which is very high compared to the previous years. So it is an alarming situation, and I hope that the escalation between Ukraine, Russia, and weather concern improve so that we have less tough times.
All right, as mentioned, that the world food import bill is at a $2 trillion, which has been quite on the higher side, and the kind of concerns that are in the market, the country should be ready to absorb all those shocks, of course, is the word coming in from Sudhakar Tomar. And pulses are an important food crop in India as they provide protein to the predominantly vegetarian population. At the 3-day global seminar, the Pulses Conclave 2023, I caught up with Bimal Kothari, who's chairman of the India Pulses and Grain Associations, to discuss about the challenges that are faced by the sector. I began by asking him about the price variations within the sector as chana continues to trade below MSP while the tuar is rising in trade.
The production in 2016-17 or 15-16, the production was 16 million tons. And now, the last year, the production as per the government estimate has been about more than 27 million tons. So definitely there is a strike jump in the production. But that has happened mostly in case of chana,
right,
and little bit in the moong. But if you see kharif pulses and the period what I say, 2016-17 the production was 9.5 million tons, and this year the production is 8. And we see that year on year the production is declining, and despite of the fact that government is increasing the minimum support price for all the kharif pulses year-on-year basis. So, since there has been a decline in the production, the price of tuar is one of the most is the crop of kharif crop, most important crop, and after chana that is the most consumed crop in India. So, in fact, the second advanced estimate has stated that the production will be around 3.6 million or 36 lakh tons,
okay,
as against our demand of 45 lakh tons. So definitely there is clear shortfall is there, and that's why there is a concern in the ministry. But of course they have opened up the imports till 31st March 2024.
right,
And this year we have seen a production of about 3 lakh tons in Myanmar, and of course we will see a good production because the prices are also lucrative for the farmers. So I'm sure East Africa we are going to see a good crop bearing weather issues. So now 4 years back they were producing about 300, and all of the East African countries put together, the export was about 300,000 tons, which has now increased to almost 600 to 700,000 tons. So I feel that once that crop is harvested in East Africa, and sometime in August, and the exports will start by end of August and first week of September, I believe that the prices during the festival, which is the biggest concern. In fact, we had the Honorable Secretary of Consumer Affairs, and that has been the concern of the government, that during the festival period the prices should not go up. So
right.
I don't think, I think that those crops will take care of.
It's not just about the festival period. There also is election coming forward.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't want the prices to move much. So as a pulses sector, what is your concern right now, and where do you see the shortfalls and price rise coming in? Tuar is one example.
Tuar is one. I think rest of the pulses, though the government has opened up the import of urad also till 31st March 2024, and lentils, masoor, which has been there under the OGL for last many years, and now there is no duty also on that. So these are the three crops where we had the production is short. Masoor, the lentils, what we call lentils. This is a rabi crop, and tuar and urad is a kharif crop. So this year, last year the government has increased the minimum support price by 5 rupees, and the production it looks that production should be good this year. I think if there is no weather aberration, I think India will produce about 1.5 million tons. So we are still importing 700 to 800,000 tons. I think import will drastically come down.
All right. So I know there's just too many things to take factor into, but when you look at the next 6 months, where do you see, or which crop do you see trading at or below MSP, and which crop do you see will have higher prices?
Chana, again, I see there is a lot of pressure on Chana because last year we had a huge crop, in fact, the record crop. This year, the government estimate is almost similar or a little higher, in fact, than the last year.
Right.
And I believe the carryover will be about 35 to 40 lakh tons of Chana. Of course, these are not very authentic figure, but these are the
early days.
Yeah. So, but of course, NAFED, they have got a stock about 1.8 million tons, and definitely there is quite a bit of stock in the trade also. So, and then another big crop. So definitely there is going to be a lot of pressure on Chana. So I don't think the Chana prices last year, whole year, Chana prices were ruling below minimum support price, and I don't see that any reason, unless we have been recommending the government that put Chana under PDS. This is one. Second, please incentivize the export of Chana. Because we are producing the most expensive pulses in the world, because our minimum support price is very high than if you compare to the world market.
Right.
So if you want to export, then definitely you need to incentivize the export of Chana. And these are the two ways, consume this Chana, because Chana is not like rice and wheat where you can store it for 3-4 years. So you need to consume this Chana either through public distribution system, and that's the best way, because a large section of our society still needs the protein, and Chana is one of the best, most important pulses crop, which can take care of to a certain extent the protein requirement.
Well, pulses has been pushed for protein requirement, but as Mr. Kothari says that India imports the most expensive pulses also, and since our MSPs have been increasing, well, that's a bit of a support that the pulses prices continue to take on year-on-year basis as government continues to hike the MSPs there. So that, of course, is all about the pulses trade there. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Commodity Champions. News continues on CNBC-TV18. Do stay tuned.